The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, NXT Review.
Hello and welcome to the NXT review for May 16th, 2018. I am your host tonight, Brandon Biskobing. Unfortunately, Gary is off on a hiatus again, and Harry Broadhurst is also out of action. So we are giving you a little special treat tonight. We are bringing in one of our other co-hosts, the co-hostess with the mostest, Liz Pugliese. And not only are we bringing her in tonight, but this is a little special treat because we get a newbie tonight. How's it going, Liz? Oh, I should probably unmute your mic. How's it going, Liz?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. This was your first time watching NXT.
Yes, other than some, obviously, familiar with the names, from following, seeing stuff online and whatever. And, but I've never watched a takeover, and I've never seen a full episode of NXT. For the most part, I've probably just seen like clips, here and there.
Now, you said when we were talking about this while you were watching it, you said like, oh, I'm already hooked, like within the first couple of minutes. What was that because of?
Okay, so, it might sound, dumb to some, or maybe other people feel the same way, but I, being slightly older than most of everybody else on the staff, I grew up watching NWA. I grew up watching stuff out of Texas. I grew up watching the WCCW, and this very much has that feel to it. The much smaller stadium.
Oh, you would have loved it back when they were doing it at Center Stage.
Yeah.
Where WCW, like the old, not like Nitro, but the old World Championship Wrestling, the NWA WCW was being taped.
Oh, yeah, I probably would have. And, so it had, right away, it had that, feel to it. Everything was very close, the fans were, I mean, obviously on SmackDown and Raw and everything, they're close, but it just seems like they were so much closer. It was so much smaller. It gave me that very old school feel that I grew up watching. So it was a bit nostalgic.
Yeah, because it's a studio instead of one of a big sports arena.
Right, exactly.
But
just the lighting and everything, it just, I don't know. I just connected with it. I guess it was something I missed from the main shows.
Oh, I understand that. And that's something that Triple H is really trying to do. Is like, even though he was in WCW for a little bit, but even though most of his time was spent in WWE, he's still been a big fan of old school NWA stuff,
right.
And he's brought a lot of that quality, both in terms of production and in terms of storylines and in terms of the wrestling. All of that, he's brought a lot of that quality into NXT.
Right. Yeah, I definitely could see that.
So we get the opening, and we hear Gargano's music playing, and Mauro Ranallo is thinking, oh, great, Gargano's coming out. But nope. First it was no music last week, and now we get Tommaso Ciampa trolling us with Johnny Gargano's music. Since you never saw anything or whatnot, we were talking about this a little off air, but did this confuse you at first, like when it first started?
Yeah, initially, obviously, it was kind of easy to figure out, okay, well, all right, he's, feuding. I don't watch it, but, like, I knew that wasn't, Johnny Gargano. I know that much, so, so I guess I figured, so it was easy to figure out, okay, well, all right, these two are, feuding. And like I said to you before we started recording, out of everything that was on this episode, this was the one thing that I went and, Googled. Because for the most part, and I don't know if I've ever said this on any of the other podcasts, for the most part, I'm not really a big fan of, I know not even like Miz and Maurice actually obviously work together, whatever. Not the husband and wives working together, but the whole, I don't know, the whole, I had a good thought about what to compare it to before. Now I can't think of it. The whole, the woman's coming out to defend her man thing. I don't know. It just like whatever, like, it's kind of like whatever for me. And I was like, oh, it's going to be this. I'm like, whatever. But I instantly got into it for some reason.
Well,
I guess.
This feels a lot different, at least to me, because, well, for one, because Candice is a legitimate good wrestler. And for two, because this, to me, I mean, yeah, I know, like, Miz and Maurice are really together. Rusev and Lana are really together. But, like, this one feels a lot more authentic than a lot of the relationship storylines that we get on the main roster.
Yes, it was much more, organic. It was much more natural. It didn't seem like this forced, okay, this is what you're going to go out there and say. Not that it wasn't maybe not, scripted, I don't know. But it just seemed much more natural. It just seemed to flow very, not casually, but very, very easily. And I think that's what, made me go look it up, because I wanted to see, because I thought they worked, so well together. I wanted to see if there was that real life, relationship that they were, using on. I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, like Sammy and Kevin are friends, and this one, that one, the other one, friends, whatever. So they do that a lot.
Yeah.
But at first I was like, oh, great, it's going to be one of these storylines, and I'm going to hate it. But it sucked me right in, and I was really pleasantly surprised.
Well, that's good, that especially for someone who is coming in completely blind, that it sucks them right in. Because that's something that I was going to mention, was that unlike on the main roster where we get these god-awful extended recaps of what has happened over the last month and over the last 2 months with a feud and all of this, and Michael Cole explaining everything to the letter about why these two are feuding and everything. I understand to an extent why WWE on the main roster has to do this, because they don't know how many new fans are coming in on a weekly basis. And they have to get people in the loop very quickly, and, whereas, you're a big wrestling fan, so you're gonna go out of your way and look into this stuff if you're confused on something, if you are starting to watch a new promotion. But a lot of the more casual fans, especially those who are just watching the main roster, aren't gonna do that. But it is kind of interesting to see, like, how newer fans are able to get into NXT. But, like you said, it really shows that Triple H is doing a good job, that it gets people invested right away. And I think one thing you said right there, and especially because this is kind of developmental, but at the same time, I think because it's on the network, because you don't have a lot of advertising and all of this, I do think, now I don't know this for sure, I haven't seen any reports on it one way or the other, but I do honestly think that Triple H probably gives a lot of these guys, especially the guys that have a little more experience, a little more leeway, and does the old school bullet point concept with promos instead of writing it out verbatim.
Yeah, I can definitely see your point there, because even as we go through them, I guess we will touch on them, even the vignettes, their interviews, whatever you want to call them, they were far less, I don't want to say annoying, but they just
far less choppy.
Far less choppy, and thank God they didn't have those stupid words all over the freaking screen. I hate that. I hate that. Like with Alistair, it just seems like, casually, flow. I think there is a sense that everything in some ways is like a little more, laid back, not as intense, and it, it works. It delivers the product well.
Yeah. So, like we said, Ciampa says that Johnny won the battle, but he won the war. He'll always win in the long run, and that's why he's here. And Johnny's at home in a neck brace. That he beat his mind, his heart, his soul, and now his body. And Candice comes out and basically says, "I don't know who you are. You're not who I knew, and you're obsessed with ruining our lives, and I don't understand why." And she says the only thing that's broken is him. She basically runs down Tommaso, and like you said, it was a great promo, and I think the realism behind it, the fact that they did do all these things, does help with a promo like this.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, that was something that, triggered me to look it up if I wanted. I didn't feel, for lack of a better word, fake. It felt like there was a lot of, truth in it that they were, pulling from. Not necessarily that they hate each other or whatever, but, that the real life instances were actually real.
Yeah. Well, I think it was on one of those I think it was on the countdown for the best Hell in a Cell matches. Triple H said in the interview, he's like, "You'll never hit anyone as hard as you hit your friends." So it's like, the guys who are actually friends outside of the ring work better together. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons. I think that's one of the reasons why, like, feuds like Braun and Roman work so well, or Stone Cold and Rock. It's like the guys that are friends outside of the ring work the best together in the ring. Like, have you ever heard? Have you heard the funny story about, like, how they had, like, Stone Cold and Rock had bets going, like, on how crazily he could sell the stunner?
No, I never heard that.
Yeah, they kept on, they just wanted to one-up each other each time. Like, Rock just wanted to go even crazier and crazier each time.
Yeah, I can totally believe that.
So our first match of the night, scheduled for one fall, is some women's action between two of the Mae Young Classic women, Lacey Evans and Brandi Lauren, which was a squash, with Lacey winning after a springboard drop elbow and a moonsault. And then she hit her with the finish. And then afterwards, Kairi Sane comes out and attacks Evans. Throws her into the apron and rolls her into the ring. But Lacey, doing the prototypical heel thing, bails out and leaves before Kairi can do any more damage. What do you think of this match?
Even for a squash match, it seemed, pretty quick. I'm not complaining about that. It was, what it was. Lacey intrigued me. She's probably somebody that I will go Google, later. Basically, for the most part, I'm kind of interested in how much of their, real life story plays into their characters right now. Stuff like, I always, you try to, figure that out. I liked her gear, which really doesn't matter, but I did. The beatdown, afterwards, I always love a good surprise beatdown, and for me, since it really was a surprise because I don't know what the hell's going on. I didn't know the backstory. Actually, I looked that up.
Well, I can basically tell you, Lacey, her gimmick is basically like she's supposed to be like a Southern belle. And she's basically talking down to everyone else in the division, saying that, they're not ladies and, they're basically trash. And she first went after Nikki Cross, who was part of Sanity. And Cross beat her. and then she started to go after Kairi Sane. They had a match a couple of weeks ago. I want to say that Sane won.
Okay.
But it still hasn't ended. Lacey's still kind of trying to go after Kairi, and so that's what prompted this attack.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, I always enjoy a good surprise beatdown, and this one definitely was a surprise for me. Like I said, so I'll definitely. I mean, even if I don't do any more of these reviews, because our pal Harry will be back next week. I think so far it's intrigued me enough to keep watching it.
Damn it! I was hoping to save that for later.
Oh, sorry.
It's
well,
okay.
You never know. There's a couple of things fell flat for me, but we'll get to that.
Okay. We'll talk about what your full thoughts and what your future holds for NXT a little later on. See if we've converted another one. After this, we get a recap of the whole Velveteen Dream and Ricochet verbal interaction from last week. We get an interview with Aleister Black, asking about Dream and Ricochet wanting a title shot. Aleister basically says, yeah, I know I have a target on my back now because I'm the champ. Everyone's seen what I can do. And, hey, step up and prove it. So I like Aleister a lot because he is very much the fighting champion. He will take on anyone.
Yeah, that was a good. I mentioned it just a little bit ago. That was a good, promo. I liked the walking outside. For lack of a better way of saying it, kind of like TMZ, where they just caught him outside taking a stroll. And yeah, I just thought it was easy, to the point, not a whole bunch of extra fluffy stuff, thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
Just, said what he had to say.
Yeah. That's one thing, and, New Japan kind of does it even better in the way that I'm thinking of it, because they actually have basically, like a post-game, press conference room. But NXT does this a lot better than WWE, where, the main roster very much tries to force it. And, make these forced interviews and stuff. Right. And it just doesn't feel authentic, whereas this, where it's he's just walking outside and, he catches up with him. Or even better, the next segment we'll talk about, where they actually have these press scrums as though it is like an actual sport, where you've got a bunch of cell phones and tape recorders, standing there in the locker room or just outside the locker room. I've been a part of a bunch of them, so I know exactly what it's like.
Right.
So it makes it feel a lot more authentic.
So
like I mentioned, next we've got Dakota Kai meeting with the media outside. She doesn't know what's up with Nikki Cross. Her focus at the Performance Center is on strength and conditioning right now. Crosscut comes in and says, when you gonna face Shayna Baszler, huh? She tells Dakota that, with fear comes opportunity, and, you need to face your fear, and then she laughs and walks off, and leaving Dakota shaken and confused. I know you haven't seen anything, so, this is another one where it's you needed a little more backstory behind it to fully understand it. But outside of that, what do you think of this?
This was, as much as I've been saying that I liked the different feel to it at first, this was one that the first thing I think that kind of felt off to me, because I'm not, used to the whole, the way you explained it, the whole kind of, backroom post-show, conference type,
I mean, if
interview type of thing.
If you
but I was just.
if you've ever watched like a post game show for a regular sport, you'll often see the players being interviewed individually with a bunch of cameras and microphones.
You'd have to be stupid not to know what it what it's like. Everybody's seen that.
Yeah.
But I think it lost me for a second. It took me a couple of seconds to get into it. Because I just was struck about how much she reminded me of Bailey for some reason. So,
well, a lot of people have said that. And that
kind of threw me for a second. But I get it. I get why they have that set up, and it's not bad. I'm not knocking it. I liked Cross popping in. I'm like, oh, a nice crazy lady. I can always get behind a good crazy lady if it's
you'll
done
love
well.
Cross then.
And
she bites ropes.
Really, it was the first one, and I think the only thing that I'd really have to maybe go back and watch to see if I can get a better opinion of it. Because as stupid as it sounds, I was really like, okay, why does she look so much like Bailey? They need to do something that she looks too much like Bailey, So.
Well, I think that's kind of the reasoning for. I mean, I think she looked like that in the Indies already. I'm not sure.
She probably did.
But she is. They are using her very much like Bailey right now. Where I don't know if you looked this one up at all, but Shayna Baszler, because she's former MMA and everything, she's been basically going on a reign of terror throughout the women's division right now. And she's been directly targeting Dakota Kai because she's an easy target. And Dakota has been trying to avoid her as much as she can, and she's been very afraid of Shayna Baszler. And now Nikki Cross is kind of coming in and basically, she wants to face Dakota Kai, but at the same time, I have a feeling, and I said this when I watched this, I have a feeling that Nikki is gonna kind of push Dakota to face her fear and actually face Baszler, because I think that's the feud that they're heading towards.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah. Next we get Velveteen Dream versus Ricochet, which was a very good match up until it got interrupted by Lars Sullivan, who squashes them both up against the turnbuckles, and that's that. First, what do you think of all three of these guys? I'm very curious to think what you thought of these guys.
So out of all three, I am most familiar with Ricochet. You'd probably have to be a wrestling fan living under a rock, not to be so easily impressed. I mean, I've seen his, work before, not here though.
Oh, okay. You have watched some of his matches from the Indies.
Yeah, I've matches that fans have recommended or that have popped up in different things.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of friends who are huge, Ricochet fans, so I probably know more about him or more familiar with him than probably anybody else on there right now. So we'll leave him for last because he's everybody knows he's awesome.
Yes.
So let's discuss Velveteen Dream here for a second.
Okay.
So even though he's so I think while popular at the moment, maybe not, but that's the impression I have.
He is quite popular.
So even in our staff chat, I don't think there's anybody that's really down on him. I'm not sure. I'd have to check, but I'm too lazy to do that right now. I just hear the name and I think, Bunny Rabbit, the Velveteen Rabbit. I'm like, that just, to me, I'm like, okay, that just sounds, ridiculous. And I apologize, Mr. Velveteen Dream. So I was like, okay, I'm finally going to see what all the, hype is about. And I'm not knocking his skill because I didn't know anything, about him. I know he used to wrestle under his real name, whatever, Patrick or whatever that is. And, all that. So they first showed a clip from whatever, right? And I was like, okay. And then I was like, all right. So then I started to laugh to myself because I was like, okay. I still think the whole name is a little, weird, but, whatever. But then I said to myself, you know people who dress like this. And for those of you who may or may not be listening to this, I live in New York City, so I know a lot of people that dress in a lot of different ways. And, so it wasn't the whole Velveteen, Dream thing. The look wasn't as, I guess, crazy or insane as I had assumed it would be. It's not even as over the top as I thought it would be. I thought he'd be. I mean, it is. In a sense, and his whole persona, that he has going on a bit, whatever the hell he's going for there. Sorry about the H word, but it's not really curse. But anyway, but I do. I know people who dress like that. I know people who act like that. So yeah, no, it wasn't as odd as I thought it would be. And the match, such as it was a good match. You don't expect. I mean, from what I've heard about him, I didn't expect anything less, and was really enjoying, the match. One thing I got to say is I didn't read any reviews first. Because a lot of times I'll read the next, I always say next, sorry, Ari, the NXT, review. I'm not always, but I will read it, now and again. I didn't. Since I was going to watch it and be on here with you, I said, so I thought about it. I'm like, no, let me go in, completely blind, and not have any preconceived, notions. So I was actually surprised that I didn't immediately on sight hate his whole, look. Probably partially, and it is, as you know from having to listen to me drone on every week, that it probably would be something that I would be like, you have to be kidding me. So that was a pleasant, surprise that I did not hate it, and he was great in the ring. I was enjoying the match. Now, as for the buddy there, Lars.
Yep.
I was like, well, that isn't he. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have certain looks throughout wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You have your brawns who are the big shows with the big guys, and you have your heartthrobs and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so, harking back to what I was saying earlier, where you got this I got this very old school, for me, feel to it. He gave me a very old school feel with his look.
Oh, yeah.
The way he looks, and kind of, maybe, Nikolai Volkov-ish, or a little George the Animal Steel, like they had a baby, and there's.
I would probably say, I mean, granted, this may be just because I'm looking too far into his primary gimmick, but I would say he's closer to Steel than he is to Volkov.
No, he's definitely closer to Steel, but he still had a bit of Volkai's body structure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So you morphed the two of them together. You have him, and he tossed them around. That's always entertaining. Can always get like before. You can always get behind a good surprise beatdown. I have no idea what the history with him and them is.
There really isn't a ton of history between them. They were all in the U.S. title match at TakeOver Orlando, or not Orlando, New Orleans. But it's mostly just these three, as of right now at least, seem to be the front runners to be the new number one contender for the NXT title, for the main title.
It's good enough for me. That's all I need.
But yeah, Lars is fun. Basically, pretty much think like a smaller version of Braun, pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking.
Only slightly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, Ricochet is Ricochet.
Oh yeah, Ricochet is Ricochet. The man has some set of abs. That's for damn sure.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from with the whole, you live in New York, you're gonna see pretty much every type of person out there, but Velveteen Dream is definitely a little out there.
Yeah, the whole. I mean, some of the things I would say in reference to it, I'm not going to because they can come off as derogatory, and that's not the way I mean them at all. Yeah. So I don't want to get.
I completely understand that because I'm probably thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, probably, but yeah, it's not nearly as awful as I had built it up in my head just based on Velveteen Dream because I just keep thinking the Velveteen Rabbit.
Okay, so the next contest scheduled for One Fall is Kona Reeves facing off and defeating Raul Mendoza with a pinfall following a Hawaiian drop. I'll tell you the truth, I didn't really watch this match all that much. I'll give you why I don't really care about him moving forward, but I'm curious. As a newcomer, what you think of Kona Reeves?
Okay, can I be superficial?
Sure.
I hated his hair.
Well, I think everyone does.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I know it's unlike me because I usually have like these very knee gut reactions. Like you had to like talk me down from like hating No Way Jose just based on his stupid gimmick. So I don't know. I have to be honest. The match didn't draw me in. Like it just the rest of the stuff had some context, to it. Unless I missed something, and I might have. There was no like, oh, these two, hate each other.
Oh no, this was basically just another squash.
This was just basically another match. So yeah, so I wasn't, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind matches just for the sake of having a match. I mean, these guys have a job to do.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what they're there for. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. It was a decent match, but I can't say. As much as I was distracted by the fact that she looked so much like Bayley, I can't say that these are two of the people that I'm going to go later and be like, okay, Brandon, tell me everything about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they didn't like jump off the screen at me.
I mean, I don't really know. Like I said, I haven't. He's been on TV for probably about 3 weeks since he's come back or something like that. But I haven't really paid attention to any of his matches since he's come back. So I don't really know. Like, you probably paid attention more to the match than I did. How did the crowd seem for this match? Were they kind of dead, or were they actually getting behind Reeves?
I want to say it was more quiet than anything.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and watch, but I don't think there was any chant or really anything like that.
So, let me put it in the best way I can possibly explain Kona Reeves to you. He is basically Jinder Mahal.
Okay, why do you say that?
He, probably maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. I honestly don't even remember. But he was a jobber. He was just a jobber / house show guy in NXT. And now he comes back with this wacky gimmick that no one really cares about. And it seems like they're trying to give him a push. And just no one cares about it.
Kind of surfer boy-ish or something?
Yeah, it's basically a Hawaiian surfer boy type look, I guess you could say. So, yeah, that's that. Next, we got Kathy Kelly outside of Yeah, outside of William Regal's office, when Ricochet shows up and he's trying to get in, Kelly comes over and asks him about tonight's match. Velveteen Dream comes in. He asks what Ricochet's doing there, and he says, "Oh, I know, you want Lars Sullivan." And Velveteen says, "Yeah, we have something in common then." And they keep on going back and forth, and they both head into Regal's office. So we'll probably get some sort of handicap match next week between these two and Sullivan. Any comment on this?
Some Kathy Kelly's best work that I've seen her in. I don't really pay that much attention to it. That was a nice little segment that sets up something for the future. I think both men were delivered it in a nice way that not so over the top as we tend to get sometimes on the main shows.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably going to set up, like I said, I think it's probably going to set up a handicap match between these two and Sullivan. And if they are able to beat Sullivan, then they'll have a one-on-one match to get the number one contendership. And if not, then Sullivan will be the new number one contender for the title.
Right. Makes sense.
Backstage, we get Heavy Machinery filming a selfie promo about Mother's Day, and then TM61 shows up asking if they want to get a drink. Heavy Machinery says they don't drink with cheaters, which was funny. Shane Thor, TM61 take offense to that, and they set up a match for next week. This was another one that you kind of had to have some background behind, but overall, what do you think of this?
I'm not, obviously, I shouldn't even have to say this first. I'm not familiar. I mean, I know I'm not familiar with the second people at all, whatever the heck you just called them.
TM61?
Yeah, I mean, that's just such a weird name. But
anyway. They were on TV probably about 6 months ago, a year ago, and then one of them got injured, and they came back, I think, a little before TakeOver or New Orleans, or maybe like right after, and they've been trying to push them ever since. But now they're kind of going down this heel turn path where they had their feet on the rope, and I think they had their feet on the rope for a victory against Street Profits either last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they kind of reminded me of like TJP's little brothers or something. And Heavy Machinery, I know of them, or who they are. They kind of crack me up.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Mother's Day in the States. I was like, what? Where is this going?
Oh, you should have seen some of their old promos. Like, you have to go back and watch some of their older backstage promos because they're hilarious.
I was like, look at these two hot mess of people. I'm gonna love them.
Oh yes. And that's one of the really disappointing teams in NXT. That's one of the few disappointments I've had in NXT is they haven't really been used all that well.
Yeah, I mean, for what it was. I mean, obviously, I figured out that there was some sort of somebody cheated somebody there. It was decent. It was funny if nothing else. So I didn't mind it.
Yes.
Thing I've ever seen.
Heavy Machinery is always funny, and another team that I don't know when they'll next be on TV, but another team that I'm sure you'll enjoy is the Street Profits.
Okay.
When they next show up. So now we have our main event scheduled for one fall. As we have 6-man tag match between Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Oney Lorcan against the Undisputed Era, which is Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. This was a pretty solid match, a long match, gave them some time. And kind of surprising, honestly, at least to me, that Dunne, Burch, and Lorcan get the win here. What do you think of this match?
So out of the 6 of them, I pretty much knew who 3 of them were. So that's not too bad.
Which 3? I'm assuming the all 3 of the Undisputed Era.
No, Dunne,
Okay.
Adam,
And Roddy.
and Roderick.
Okay.
So it was a pretty good, match. It wasn't the cluster what that these matches,
Normally
can
are.
be. I think, I think all 6 men, worked, really, really well together. Obviously you hear a lot about, Undisputed. So it was interesting to finally see them, in action. It was a good match. It was a good match. It kept me entertained. It kept me watching it.
Yeah, it definitely was a good match. The only thing that I'm confused about, and I'm sure we'll get more answers moving forward, I just don't know where they go from here with this, because you would have thought that the heel team gets the win on the first opportunity, and then they get their the face team gets their win back later on, unless this is a win to set up a combination of matches for the titles, with Pete Dunne going after Adam Cole for the U.S. title. Well, a champion versus champion match, while Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan go after the tag titles. That's the only thing I can think of.
Now, what title does Cole have?
Cole has the North American title.
Oh, okay.
Which just got created a month ago for at WrestleMania.
Okie doke.
So, yeah, that's just about it. Oh, actually, I didn't realize. I guess I turned it off before it fully ended. That Morrow said that Ricochet and Dream will be facing Sullivan in a handicap match next week. So
yes.
But yeah, so I don't think. I can you can do a rating if you want, but my big question is, are you hooked? Are you on the NXT train?
Do you guys usually give it a rating?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we'll give it a rating.
Okay.
I'm going to give it an 8.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to give it an 8 because I really enjoyed it. I didn't think that I wouldn't enjoy it. I didn't go into it thinking, okay, I'm going to watch this, because I'm going to do the review because nobody else is around. Mm-hmm. And blah, blah, blah. It's going to be, I knew it was good. I knew NXT can be good, So I had some expectation that I was going to be, going to enjoy at least, parts of it, maybe even more than some of the others, the main shows, or 205. I think I actually did enjoy it more than I enjoyed 205. I have to say that. So no, it was good. It was different. It, gave me this nice little nostalgic feel. I really like, the way that they do some of the stuff. I gave it the 8 because not only were the Ricochet and Velveteen and the 6-man tag. Even the women's match, that wasn't, awful, really by any means. Mm-hmm. It had some nice little, I think, surprises even for the people who, watch it regularly. But overall, it was just, really. But I gave it an 8 actually because I normally, all the backstage stuff, all the interviews, I normally tune them out. I really enjoyed all of them.
Well, I think, like I said, that has a lot to do with the more authentic feel that NXT gets. Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 7.5. The main event was good, although, like I said, I'm not sure where they go from here with that. Mm-hmm. Even though we didn't get a clean finish, I liked the Velveteen Dream versus Ricochet match. Mm-hmm. And then the opening segment was great with Ciampa and Candice. The other 2 matches, we're kind of meh. I mean, I don't like that's partially because I don't really care about the people that were involved in those matches.
Right.
But that's just me. One word review or one word rating.
One word review would be. I'm going to give it 2 words.
Okay.
Since you did the other day, pleasantly pleased.
I'm gonna say mixed, because like I said in my rating, some of it was good, some of it could have been a little better. So the big question is, moment of truth now. Are you hooked? Are you an NXT watcher now?
I think yes. I think I can easily say that it is something I will follow up on. Will I? When does it come out on Thursdays?
Wednesdays.
I don't even know.
It comes. The quote unquote live, showing of
right.
it, because obviously it isn't live; it's pre-taped. But the time that they air it on the network first is at 8:00 on Wednesday nights.
Okay, yeah. Is it something I'm going to watch every week? Yes. Is it something that I'm going to have to see, as soon as it comes out? No, not yet.
I don't do that anyway, because Tori likes watching Riverdale, and that's on at 8 on Wednesdays as well, so it's like...
Which is precisely what I'm watching.
Oh, okay. Oh, God. Now I'm going to have to ask you about that giant middle finger that they gave us at the beginning of the last episode off air. But but that's the thing about NXT that's great, is that unlike the other shows, you can watch it whenever you need to. I mean, obviously we watch it, by Thursday night so we can do the show. But, you can watch it at any time. I mean, like, I remember when Tori and I were on our big, through, in October when we were doing Halloween, and then December when we were doing Christmas stuff, we got behind, 4 weeks or something, and then caught up in a day,
right, yeah, that's
before one of the takeovers.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, I could see letting, an episode or 2, build up.
Just don't fall too far behind.
No, I won't fall too far behind. I mean, I've already, I definitely want to see
because I know I know what that's like with other companies. Like with Ring of Honor, I'm all the way back in November.
Oh, Ring of Honor! I think I'm 6 years ago. I don't fucking know. We already even started.
But so this is something that you will continue watching.
Yes. Whether or not I ever need to pinch hit in these reviews again.
We got another NXT-ite. Hail Triple H. Now we just need to get you into New Japan and Ring of Honor, and then the cycle will be complete.
Okay, only one at a time.
Okay, let's start with New Japan first.
That's actually probably where I would start, rather than Ring of Honor.
And honestly, that's probably easier because you could just get Sean's login account for New Japan and just because those are so much easier to watch. But that's a discussion for another day. So I think we're good for this show. For Liz Pugliese, I'm Brandon Biskobing saying so long and talk to you guys next time.